coming around to Twitter Spaces with Bluejay, where we bring on various founders from various DeFi protocols on a weekly basis to learn more about what they are doing and how they're contributing to the crypto space. And today we have Lisa from Quadrata. And yeah, Lisa, if you don't mind, kindly introduce yourself and briefly tell us what Quadrata does.
Thank you very much. I am a co-founder at Quadrata, which brings identity on chain with a goal to enable broader institutional adoption as well as more nuanced use cases in Web3. I came to Quadrata or to co-found Quadrata with my co-founder Fabrice Shen from traditional finance, or what I used to think of as alternative finance, where I was a partner and the CEO of European subsidiary of PAAMCO Prisma, a fund of hedge funds that was delivering solutions on behalf of institutions focused on hedge fund exposures. And I firsthand saw a number of efficiencies in traditional finance that could be supported by blockchain technology. And at the same time, I recognized that there are a number of hurdles that need to be addressed for institutions to be able to come on blockchain in size. And so we at Quadrata are focused on addressing those hurdles and looking forward to blockchain truly supporting financial services of the future.
Nice. And yeah, if you don't mind sharing as well, how do you get into crypto? And when do you get into crypto as well?
I've been personally interested in digital assets and blockchain technology for a number of years. However, with respect to my career, I made a shift about 2 years ago when I was approached by Spring Labs, a company, another fintech company from which Quadrata spun out, about this idea of bringing digital identity on blockchain. And what I love about the space is the innovation and the talent that is focused on truly helping the technology and live up to its full potential. And it's really amazing to be part of this journey.
Ah, great. And can you also share about what you were doing prior to Reta and what spurred you to start it? You were mentioning earlier some of your institutional investment background.
Yes. So I was putting hedge fund portfolio solutions on behalf of institutional clients together and leading a team in the EMEA region for a fund of hedge funds named PAAMCO Prisma. And what originally attracted me to the hedge fund space is actually very similar to what brought me to digital assets, which is innovation and new ways for investors to get access to diversifying opportunities. And having met a number of financial professionals who see the potential of blockchain technology to improve efficiency of traditional financial operations, enable broader access globally to opportunities in finance or capital markets, as well as to ultimately decrease costs, is an interesting aspect for me of being part of this blockchain technology industry.
Nice. And yeah, how do you also meet your co-founders? And if you don't mind sharing a bit more on the day in the life of your position as the co-founder of Quadrata.
Being at a startup has a lot of interesting challenges on a daily basis. As it relates specifically to our product, we're cognizant that an identity solution or a passport is only as useful as the number of destinations it unlocks. And so both of us as co-founders of this business spend effort building partnerships with applications that will query different attributes of Quadrata passports to create their use cases and enable different types of pools of liquidity providers to exist or to target specific types of investors and so forth. And partnership aspect is very important to us at the top level of the business. And then again, there is day-to-day challenges of setting up a business, finding a great team to deliver on this mission. And then little things like setting up bank accounts, making sure you have the right controls in place and the business continuity plans in different circumstances. So all of that comes together in the life of a co-founder of a startup. And I really enjoy being able to address those different challenges while keeping the big picture in mind and our vision towards bringing identity on chain alive.
Yeah, nice. In the mind, we can also get into the product that you guys are building. Yeah. So if you can briefly run through the process of like how would one get the identity passport from Quadrata and how does that differ? How does the process differ for individuals and for businesses?
So for individuals, it's a very simple process. It should only take about a minute or less for somebody to go through onboarding and data passport. So what it entails is an individual coming to quadrata.com website or to one of our partner websites and taking a selfie with their government issued ID. And then there are three different types of checks that are performed in the background. Firstly, there is a check that the person onboarding is the same as the person in the government issued ID with which they've taken a photograph. The second group of checks focuses on the reputation of the person in the off-chain world. So running their name against sanctions lists, PEP lists, watch lists, and so forth. And then in certain higher risk situations, also checking adverse media. And then separately, there is a check that is run on their digital, which is comparing that wallet to sanctioned wallets and also transactional distance to those. And as a combination of these checks, there is what we call an anti-money laundering risk score that becomes an attribute of the passport. And that score can be queried by our partners at the time of transaction or at the time of onboarding directly via their smart contracts. And based on the results of this check, they can either let the transaction to proceed or they can unwind it and not let an owner of a passport with high risk anti-money laundering score proceed. What's interesting about our solution is that it preserves pseudonymity on chain, so we do not post any privately identifiable information in the passport. And then we're careful about sensitive information that could lead to re-identification of private information. It also is a unique identifier expressed through a DID, which is there to prevent rebooting of identity. So once somebody onboards and they establish a reputation, they should be able to leverage that reputation, for instance, to get more capital efficient access. And so it's important that if they don't repay a loan, for instance, that they are not able to set up a new identity with new reputation. It should really have consequences both in the on-chain and off-chain world ultimately.
Nice. And yeah, you mentioned preserving pseudonymity. And I guess where do you guys store all that information?
So the private information is stored securely off-chain. And depending on the type of information, it could either be stored by us or by our partners who are attesting to various attributes in the passport.
Ah, okay, okay. And yeah, you actually the kind of data you guys are collecting or keeping behind this soulbound token, your Quadrata passport, are more, I guess, official documentation, the literal identification card and information regarding the person as an investor, right? What other information you guys look to collect in the future? Because let's say I'm comparing with other DID or on-chain identity protocols like Galaxy, where they collect a bunch of on-chain transaction information and the types of NFTs they hold. How does Quadrata compare with that?
So we are building a universal identity solution, which doesn't just have the KYC AML risk score attribute, but it also enables the users to leverage their reputation. So, for example, if they've established strong credit reputation in the off-chain world, ideally they should be able to also get access to more capital efficient solutions on chain. And from that perspective, we've announced the partnership with TransUnion, where we're bringing TransUnion's Vantage score on chain on behalf of their customers so that it could be queried in the passport and enable those customers to get to solutions that go beyond over collateralized lending, for example.
Ah, okay, okay. And okay, currently, what protocols does Quadrata Passport work with? And yeah, what kind of access does it provide to the users?
So there are a number of protocols which have publicly announced partnership with Quadrata. For instance, you can see in our recent press release the likes TrueFi, Chi Finance, and some more metaverse commerce type of applications that have integrated with Quadrata. And we're working also on very interesting partnerships that we yet to announce, which will query different attributes of the passport in order to create very innovative new cases on chain. Stay tuned and check out our partners at our website at quadrata.com.
Nice. And yeah, I guess getting into each of the partners for TrueFi mainly it's for the lending pools. And I guess in under that vertical, do you guys intend to work with other lending protocols similar to TrueFi, like Maple or Goldfinch?
So there are several DeFi lending protocols that are either already partnered with Quadrata or are in the process of integration, soon to be announced. And the way that they're primarily using us is to see, well, A, to mitigate the risk of commingling with bad actors for institutional liquidity providers, which are themselves regulated financial entities, and B, to be able to target more specific groups of users or borrowers and in this specific case. So for instance, we're already integrated with CRED protocol, which analyzes on-chain activity of the wallet and the user's history of repaying the loans or loans to assets ratios affiliated with the wallet to come up with a score, a CRED score, which reflect on-chain lending activities or on-chain borrowing activities. And our lending protocols are specifically looking for indicators of credit worthiness of the user when they're lending capital to them, be it their worthiness on chain or off chain, as I mentioned, via TransUnion credit score.
Nice. And yeah, regarding, I guess, on-chain activity, besides their credit worthiness, do you guys also look into like what protocols they interact with, how long they've been on in crypto, what kind of tokens they hold?
That is definitely one of the areas that could become part of additional analytics in the future. Today, we're primarily focused on credit aspects of identity and also the KYC and KYB attributes, which, as I mentioned, take into consideration there is on-chain activity from the AML risk perspective.
Okay, okay. And yeah, how are you guys onboarding users? Like how do you market the individuals who would like to get a Quadrata passport? And yeah, how do you get businesses to do so as well? Is it through the protocols you work with, or are you guys doing your own sales, marketing, or use cases?
We have an extensive network of institutions and individuals which are interested in accessing decentralized finance and Web3 opportunities in a more compliance aware way. And so, from that perspective, a number of users that have received Passport could have learned about this directly from Quadrata or from one of our existing partners who have their own users looking for more compliant aware solutions.
Okay. So it's more from, I guess, the founder's existing institutional connections. Or yeah, are you guys working with any major institution in Web2 to onboard them into Web3 through the passport?
We, as I mentioned, the solution is pseudonymous, so we are not in the position to reveal
That's
the
fair.
users
That's fair.
behind the passports. But yes, it's a combination of Quadrata's network and the network of our partners who see the need for on-chain identity and want to participate in this more compliance-aware ecosystem.
Yeah, lovely. And actually, yeah, just nice. Carapace Finance is on our spaces now. And yeah, similar to you guys, everyone's here building the infrastructure for institutional adoption of crypto and maybe also towards getting more people into the under collateralized lending protocols. So Carapace focuses on credit default risk protection, and you guys are providing the KYC AML layer where you guys onboard institutions or accredited investors into these protocols. So I think that's very cool. Yeah, in terms of what you guys are all doing. And yeah, I guess for besides, currently you guys are focused on KYC and AML and KYB. I guess further down the road, will there be any other form of data collection that you're looking towards? And yeah, where do you see Quadrata going for the year of 2023?
Yes, very good question. So we are working on adding additional attributes. So for example, right now we're finalizing accredited investor attribute that could be checked to enable users to participate in certain opportunities only open for accredited investors. Also, there is a country of a governance document, and that attribute is used by our partners when they think about in which jurisdictions they would like to reach their users and where they want to be able to offer different use cases. There is also an attribute which establishes whether or not the user behind the passport is an entity or a person. So there is that aspect today that exists. And so we're working with our partners to figure out what additional attributes are important for their particular use cases. And our technology enables access to it in this pseudonymous way, which is what we're focused on. And at the same time, we want to meet the users where they are at. So today we're live on 2 different chains and we're on 7 additional test nets. So in the near term, we'll be on 9 EVM compatible chains. And ultimately, we are a multi-chain solution. We're wallet agnostic. So we really want to support the users to only have to onboard once and then be able to go from an application to an application and also from blockchain to blockchain to leverage their existing reputation and identity.
Lovely. And yeah, the way you guys just regarding the number of chains you guys are on, that's actually quite a lot. And will you guys be building on base layer 2?
As I said, want to meet the users and the partners where they're at. So we're open to dialogue on the needs of our partners and we'll be considering various additional chains as well.
Yeah, understood. And yeah, if you don't mind, I'll bring on Spirited Sid onto the spaces. He's been requesting for a while. Maybe you have some questions.
Sure.
And yeah, Spirited, you can speak if you wish. If you have anything you like to
Hey,
ask.
thanks, Bluejay. Lisa said here, I had a question for you. You mentioned that FI is using Quadrata's solution for KYC. I recently asked them about this, that what KYC solution they use, and they said that they have their own solution and they don't rely on anybody else's solution for compliance.
You can refer to our public press release about the nuances of how we work with our partners, including TrueFi. So, as the space in general is interoperable and composable, what we see is different partners may be leveraging some of their internal resources and then also working with partners for some aspects as well.
Gotcha. Okay. One quick other question that I had was any protocol that is leveraging Quadrata's passport. That means they're trusting that Quadrata has done the due diligence on the user, like especially with the KYC. And if that particular user hacks the protocol in any way, and let's say the government subpoenas the protocol saying that, hey, you have allowed this user to access the site, give us the data, what does Quadrata do in that particular instance?
Yes. So we do work with our partners to address the regulators' inquiries. And as I said, we do not post private information on chain. However, we do retain records of how the decision was made on certain individuals and entities being issued the passport. And so there is a way for us to cooperate with the partners to get to resolve the situations as they arise.
Gotcha. So what I can hear from that is you are storing the user data on your end, if that case happens.
The information that is in the passport is not PII. And then there is the data storage and retention policy, which is available on our website, which enables us to cooperate with partners and regulators in case of this type of inquiries.
Got it. Okay. So the user data is not pushed on chain, but it is stored within your server in case of any inquiries. Okay. Got it. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Spirit. That's it. And yeah, thanks for waiting as well. Sorry to keep you waiting on the request side. Yeah, those were great questions. And yeah, I guess yeah, we are thinking with regards to the number of actually all these decentralized identity protocols that are available out there. How does Quadrata Passport differentiate from them? If you don't mind comparing a bit.
One of the things that we believe is different is that we started on this journey a couple of years ago, back when KYC on chain was not necessarily as welcome as a concept. And today, after the recent events in Web3, I think there is much more realization that some sort of governance and compliance is actually helpful to protect investors and the users and to create more trust in the ecosystem while still preserving pseudonymity, interoperability, and composability of blockchain. And so we are fortunate that we've been working on this concept for a while and we're now live with passports issued in over 70 countries to over 1,200 users with a number of partners integrated with us. And that I think differentiates our approach and the stage of the journey that we're in.
I see. Yeah, I guess other than that, with regards to institutional adoption, do you see it coming this year or is it further down the line with regards to, yeah, I guess all these decentralized identity solutions where institutions might be more comfortable with coming on board since you're in the front row seat of this, especially when you're building Quadrata?
Yes, we absolutely see investors with existing digital assets wanting to participate in Web3 ecosystem and decentralized finance ecosystem to be able to either earn additional potential yield on their assets or to borrow against those assets. Now, as I mentioned, for a number of institutions, not knowing if they're commingling with bad actors is not acceptable because they themselves are regulated and therefore they're looking for ways to mitigate that risk. So if that risk is mitigated, we see significant interest and demand in accessing compliance aware ecosystems.
Okay. And yeah, I guess further down, yeah, if you don't mind also sharing other developments you guys are doing for the year. I understand you already mentioned briefly on looking into getting other data sets and onboarding more protocols to partner with. Yeah, other than that, how else are you guys expanding the decentralized identity stack?
So for us, it falls into three primary categories. One is continuing to add features and attributes to the passport that would enable more nuanced use cases. Two is expanding the reach from the perspective of blockchains on which our passport is available. And three is continuing to expand the ecosystem and Quadrata network. So really integrating with the partners who could use various identity attributes to build new use cases and also to attract institutional investors to their existing solutions.
Okay, nice. And I guess I guess you guys, with regards to the resources you guys have made available to better understanding Quadrata, besides the documentation on Gitbook, where else can I look into to get a better understanding of what you guys are doing for those who join later or for a typical crypto user on Twitter? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. If you're interested in learning more about Quadrata, in addition to our extensive integration documentation, which is available on our website at quadrata.com, please feel free to reach out to us at contact@quadrata.com and would be happy to show you a demo of how an institution onboards, how an individual onboards, and walk you through what is entailed in integration with Quadrata from the protocol perspective, which is actually quite easy. Only 2 lines of code into your smart contract to be able to query different attributes. And we also support integration of the flow into your own environment so that the users don't have to leave your website to come to ours to onboard if they don't already have a passport.
Oh, wow. So it'd be like a plugin on the website itself for the other protocols?
Yes, exactly. It's an NPM
Wow.
package that we share with our partners.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be very cool and much more seamless. Actually, for Bluejay ourselves, we are also building lending protocol for e-loans. KYC AML would come in handy down the road for us as well as we onboard more of these SME partners and provide these loan types to accredited investors. So maybe down the road we can collaborate in that sense.
Yes, absolutely. There is, of course, an underserved SME sector globally, especially in the emerging markets. And so part of the roadmap for us is working with additional data providers to bring those data points on chain and enable protocols to access additional attributes to make decisions in terms of lending and enable more capital efficient solutions.
Yeah, great. Yeah, hopefully we can talk more about that soon. And I guess the last question to round things up for you personally, Lisa, where do you think crypto is going for in the next 1 to 3 years?
We are at the very beginning of what blockchain can do for financial services and the other sectors of the economy. So for me personally, it's an incredibly enjoyable ride and an honor to be able to contribute to this growth and this opportunity and to narrow the gaps that exist today between the technology and the expectations of institutional investors and allocators used to certain aspects of traditional finance that they need to see on chain to be able to come in size.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Lisa. And Sherry, if you have any questions for Lisa, you can go ahead as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Lisa, great to speak with you again. And thank you so much for taking the time out of the day to come on our spaces and have this discussion around DID and KYC and on-chain AML. I just have a couple of questions that I think would be interesting for the audience to maybe get a bit better sense. My first one is actually around the opportunity within Asia. So as you maybe seen in the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of tension on Asia. There's been the recent, I guess, support for the Hong Kong ecosystem. There's been more and more regulatory clarity. Plus, I would say, especially given maybe some of the events in the US, like increasing look at Asia as a big opportunity for crypto. So I'm wondering from your Quadrata side, like how are you thinking about the Asia opportunity specifically? And then I guess a follow up from there, is there anything that we can do as Bluejay to help in that since this is the region that we are situated in?
Yes, absolutely. So Quadrata itself is a global solution. So we support users and partners across the world. And we are cognizant that there are certain regulatory environments and regulators that are really focused on providing additional clarity of what it is that they would like to see with respect to identity solutions and other on-chain products and offerings. And so we look forward to engaging with the Asian market from the partner perspective, from the user perspective, and from the regulator perspective, and continuing to improve what exists today on chain with respect to digital identity, and also to enable more nuanced use cases that come with reputation, identity, and compliance.
Awesome. And I guess a follow up from there, I just posing this as a use case and a consideration for the future. I know that you guys are focusing a lot on the institutional segment right now, which I think makes a ton of sense given the founding team's experience and network as well. But there is a huge opportunity when it comes to bringing, I guess, more financing on chain for SMEs that have been traditionally like left out in some ways. So basically, if you look at globally, I think that number is 5 trillion across the board in credit gap. And then in Southeast Asia specifically, $300 billion in that kind of opportunity. So one of the challenges actually is really getting good data, mostly in the off-chain world right now, on-chain, so people can understand how, like, who they can trust as a counterparty, like whether or not this player's creditworthy, et cetera. How are you guys thinking about potentially expanding in this area in the future? Are there data providers that you would consider working with that may be different? Just want to get some of your thoughts here.
Yes, we're thinking about it in a very comprehensive way. So there's several inputs into that decision. One is which data is available, two, which data is easily consumable on chain and can enable partners in Web3 to make more informed decisions. So that's, you asked earlier what Bluejay can help with. If you have a set of inputs that would be useful to you in making lending decisions that you would like to see as part of the passport, please don't be shy. And we are in dialogue with a number of data partners who have various informational sources available. So it's really a matter of making sure that data can be useful to the existing applications and also to the future partners that come on chain.
Absolutely. Of course, happy to chat after this to share some of this as well from our side. The next question I have is let's just think about what it takes to bring, let's say, the next 1 billion people crypto using a Quadrata passport, whether it's a consumer or a business. Like, what are the challenges that you foresee that you would have to overcome to eventually get to that scale of the business?
So I think when we think about growth opportunities, the key aspects that we keep in mind is what is the pain point that is being solved with our solution and how it enables broader adoption, both by institutions and individuals. So for institutions, table stakes, as we discussed, is making sure that they mitigate the risk of commingling with bad actors. And so the passport does solve it in the way that I discussed. And in terms of the retail clients, part of what is challenging today is that I don't think there is a billion people today who has the technical skill to have self-custodied wallet and come to DeFi and participate in whichever use case that may be available. And so the way we see that developing is actually via some institutional partners who enable individuals to have access to DeFi ecosystem while abstracting the technological challenges. So that's another way to engage individuals. And then the third way to engage individuals who are already today on chain and to bring them into this more compliance aware ecosystem is if they're able to leverage some parts of their identity or reputation to get something that they otherwise are not able to get, that is really attractive from the perspective of getting better term loans, for instance, lower interest rate or a lower collateral requirement if they've been known to repay their loans on time, off chain or on chain. And so it's really through those avenues that we see the next growth stages to occur.
Gotcha. So Lisa, if I'm understanding correctly, then for like the billion of retail customers that may not necessarily be like savvy and know how to or want the complexities of, I think, DeFi abstracted from them, you would work with your business or institutional partners to use Quadrata to help them, the retail customers, KYC through them. So it's almost like a B2B2C, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yes, that's one of the routes to reach broader range of individuals. And then another one for the individuals who are already engaged in DeFi to enable them to participate in use cases which specifically target some parts of their reputation. So it could be either creditworthiness or history, or it could be the fact that it's a unique identity. For instance, some of the projects that we're working with, they want to be distributing rewards to their users, but making sure that it's not a reward per wallet, it's really a reward per user or reward per identity. And so the Sybil resistance aspect of our passport is interesting to those.
Actually, I was wondering, like, we're also a platform business as a stable coin. And sometimes you have the universe of so many different use cases you could do, but then figuring out what those are requires like a discovery process, meeting with potential customers and just learning out of the hundreds of applications, which ones make sense. I was wondering from your guys' angle, like, how do you discover some of these use cases? Because as I'm talking to you, I have a few that have been coming to mind, even from talking about the consumer side of things. You guys have hackathons that you are planning at conferences? Do you have, I don't know, webinars, or where do you enable like Quadrata's discovery process for all these different use cases that you may not have thought about for your platform?
Great question. So yes, we are spending time and energy in connecting with our peers and end users at conferences, on Zoom, through various other networking opportunities to discover those use cases that may be interesting to explore longer term. And then shorter term, we're already seeing demand today for a Sybil resistance feature, for AML risk score feature, for a credit reputation feature. And so that's where we've decided to focus our efforts in the short term. And then we continue this discovery process through additional conversations and being in an open dialogue with our existing partners and potential partners to really understand what it is that they're trying to solve and how we can help them on this journey.
Absolutely. Yeah, actually, speaking of that, like one of the ideas or things that can consider maybe in the future is if they're so I was actually speaking to a company here in Asia where they're building an income lending, this is for consumers, like an income lending solution, because what they're realizing is people are earning money on chain. If they're like contracting or you're working for a Web3 company, they're getting paid in USDC or you're not getting paid in like fiat, right? Where you can maybe use that kind of payroll data to be able to access or build a credit profile to access certain types of loans and things like that. That's something that just jumped to my head of, okay, there may be more companies that are building for stuff like this that could be interesting to connect with you guys to see if there's more information that could be actually gathered from to determine the credit worthiness of somebody who's earning in crypto.
Yes, absolutely. Very interesting use case. And as I mentioned before, I would love to brainstorm additional attributes that could be helpful for digital identity and thinking about if we can support partners in that way.
Sounds good. Back to you, and that was all the questions I had.
Yeah, thanks, Sherry. Actually, that's all I have as well. Yeah. And yeah, I guess thank you, Lisa, for your time. It's been almost an hour with us. And yeah, lovely to have you on our Twitter spaces. And as I said earlier, for all Twitter spaces that we have, they are recorded. After this, we'll upload it onto YouTube podcast. And yeah, people can tune in there in the future. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you, Lisa, for your time. And yeah, glad to learn more about DID and how Quadrata is bringing on institutional adoption through KYC and AML, and providing pseudonymity on chain through your Quadrata passports. And hopefully you can get to work together soon with our upcoming product. And yeah,
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to share perspectives on this important topic. And once you have a link to the recording, I look forward to sharing it on our network as well.
yeah, lovely. And yeah, thanks again, Lisa. Have a good evening. And for the rest of us in Singapore, good morning.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.